I feel like 2021 is a better version of 2020 just purely because we already know what we are dealing with. However, it still nevertheless was a hard year for me and my family because we lost few souls, few beautiful souls. I lost my grandma for old age. I lost my grandpa, both on my dad's sides. My husband lost his aunt and his cousin due to COVID-19 within a week, all within a week. It's a hard year, and that's to say the least. However, we have to keep moving. And for that, I'm grateful that I'm still here, still able to breathe, still able to do what I love, and to read, to gain things from all of these books that I'm going to share with you. Hi everyone, welcome back, or welcome if you're new here. I am Kira. I'm so glad that you decided to click on this video. I'm so glad that you are here. In 2021, if you've missed my previous video, I have hauled a lot of books because I've been in the reading slump for quite some time. For the past 2 years, I think, from the moment I got my baby, because wow, motherhood is no joke. And I am so glad that I am back here, back with my books, because it feels so good. I've managed to read 26 books last year, and that I feel like an achievement because I only started reading in July. The way I'm going to rank these books is by ranking the lowest, meaning the least favorite to the most favorite. But I just want to share the honorable mentions in this video, and I have two honorable mentions. One is fiction and another one is non-fiction. The first honorable mention that I have is Think Like a Monk by Jay Shetty. I think this is the epitome of the reason why some people do not like self-help books, because it tells you what you already know. But I love this book. I put it here in the honorable mention because not only that, it serves as a reminder for a lot of things. In this book, there are a lot of techniques that he has shared. For example, breathing technique, meditation technique. Another reason why this book really speaks to me is because I feel like it has a quite strong connotation to Islamic principles, Islamic practice that I already know. For example, not to be too attached with the worldly possessions, so on and so forth. So I feel like it serves as a good reminder. So that's why it's here. The next honorable mention is Beloved by Toni Morrison. I don't have the physical copy of the book because I actually borrowed the book from my local library. How would I describe this book? This is definitely not an easy read. Number one, because of the language itself. It has a lot of slangs that I do not understand, or I need to reread few times to look into the context for me to understand it. And number two, because of the emotional play that it has in the book itself. This book concerns on a story about a mother who lives in a house that I believe was haunted initially with her daughter. And later we were presented by the fact that the house is actually haunted by her another dead daughter named Beloved. You found out that this baby has been murdered or killed by that same mother. And then you're just following their story living in that house, and which later was changed because of an appearance of a woman. That's all I'm going to say about this book. It is a really, really hard and difficult book to read, to say the least. Coming at number 8 is Circe by Madeline Miller. This is actually a Greek mythology retelling of a goddess named Circe. We're following Circe, who have changed or turned two people actually in this book into something else entirely. Circe is actually the daughter of Helios, the god of the sun. When it was then discovered by the gods that she has the capability and the power to turn other gods, goddess, or humans into another being, she is then banished to an island named Aya, where she is sentenced to basically live in isolation forever in that island. She has made a life in that island, and we're following her story in that island, having visitors after visitors, and later was visited by another god named Odysseus. That's all I'm going to say about this book. I think this book is not like the best that I've read, even though it makes me want to read the Iliad and the Odyssey like right now. But I love how she has made something out of other goddess. Like she's not one of the major goddess that you talk about in the Greek myth, but I love how she has made something out of Circe. The reason why this book is one of my best read is how it makes me feel. Being a goddess, she is of course immortal, and this book make me realize that it's not so much on how long you lived. Circe, being a goddess, she is of course immortal, but it doesn't really mean anything unless your life actually meant something. You don't have to be immortal for you to actually be or feel something or have meanings in your life. So that's why I love this book so much. That's why it is in this list. So that's Circe by Madeline Miller. If you have missed my previous video where I talk so lengthily about this book, on the reviews and the takeaways that you can learn from this book, this is The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen R. Covey. This is one of the best read actually from the last year in terms of personal development slash non-fiction read, because of the things that it has teach me. Like I said in the my honorable mention book, I think like a monk, it teaches you something that you already know. It just serves as a reminder. But this one, it gives you a shift of paradigm in your head, shows you how should you think instead of the usual or ordinary way. Feel like this book has given you the steps and the way to become a more effective person in your life, in your relationship, in your working space, in almost everything that you do. This book have helped me tremendously for the past year. Because of this book, I have signed up for a master's degree. Because of this book, I have started a YouTube channel. And this book has also pushed me out of my reading slump. It's funny because this book is lengthy, and this book has pushed me basically to become a better version of myself last year. So that's why I really, really love this book, and I highly, highly recommend this. Coming at number 6 is a classic, and that is The Great Gatsby by F. Scott Fitzgerald. It is really, really funny because I never heard of it. I never heard of the story. I never watched the movie. So I'm very, very glad because I wasn't exposed to the story before I read the book. But again, it's very, very lame. This story, we're following Jay Gatsby, and this book is written from the point of view of his neighbor, Nick. Nick basically gives a commentary of the life of Jay Gatsby, throwing parties here and there all the time, and all of the people, important people, coming in and out of the house, attending these parties. Later in the book, we are presented with the reason why Jay Gatsby threw all of these parties. And to be honest, I was not ready for the book to be that tragic, have that tragic ending, but it is what it is. So if you have heard of the story, then you may want to read this book. But I fell in love with the writing of Scott Fitzgerald. I fell in love with the way he put out such holistic story of these friendships, of these parties in a very short book. Coming at number 5 is The Girl Who Drank the Moon by Kelly Barnhill. I first heard of this book from the channel Emmy. I will link her channel down below. She is my favorite YouTuber ever. She is so comforting, I would say. This is a very easy read for me because I think this book is more towards middle grade-ish kind of age. It's good nevertheless. In this book, we are following a group of people in a town who believed that every year, annually, they have to sacrifice a baby for a witch. in the forest. So every single year, each family with the youngest baby would have to sacrifice a baby for the witch to take. And indeed, in the forest, there is a witch named Zan who have absolutely no idea why does all of these people, like every single year, would send this youngest baby to the forest, in the middle of the forest. So what she did was that she would take this baby when they were left in the middle of the cold in the forest to another side of the bog, to the free cities they called it, to ensure that these babies would have a good life ahead of them every single time. During her travel in taking these babies to send them to the free cities, she would need to feed this baby milk, etc. And this one time she has accidentally feed this one baby who later named Luna the moonlight. And everyone knows that when you feed a child the moonlight, the baby itself will become magic. Zan later realized that she would not be able to send Luna to the free cities because Luna has magic now, so she needs to raise Luna all by herself. I won't go any further. I'm afraid that I will spoil the book, but this is really, really cozy. Also entertaining read. And it's easy, so I recommend this for you to read. I feel like it's not surprising that I have a lot of classics in this list because 2021 was the year that I discovered classics. I discovered my love towards classics. So coming up to number 4, we have Little Women by Louisa May Alcott. This is one of the first classics that I've read in 2021. This is considered as a children classics, but nevertheless, I love it. I have only read Little Women and have not yet read The Good Wives by the same author. Basically, a continuation, a sequel to this, but I love it. I love Little Women so much. We're following the story of 4 sisters, Meg, Jo, Beth, and Emmy, living with their mother when their father was off to the war. This book made me miss my childhood so much. It pushed your imagination so on when you were a child and you were not limited to what you can or cannot do. You just do it anyway. It reminds me so much of that. In this book, in this story of these 4 sisters, you are following them having their just a normal, ordinary life. And not really an easy life, to be honest. I don't think they are really, really poor, but at the same time, they are not well off either. There were also points in this book where they were tested of the scare of losing their father, losing their sister. And it's not all fun and games. There are people who had it worse. These 4 sisters are different from one another. Like Meg is beautiful, I believe, sensible and outgoing. Jo, the second one, is boyish, literary, love to read. We have Beth, musical and shy, and Emmy, who is, I believe, so selfish, so spoiled. But that's just me thinking about it. Basically, it's the story of 4 sisters living in that neighborhood, helping each other, playing with another neighbor, so on and so forth. And yeah, I really, really miss this. Coming up at number 3, yet another classic, but instead of a novel, we have a work of poetry by this Lebanese author, Khalil Gibran. This is The Prophet by Khalil Gibran. This is basically not a story, but reimaginings of a prophet. When the prophet is about to embark on his journey, and then suddenly all the villagers came to him and asked for final advice regarding a lot of things. There are a lot of things that these villagers have asked, like speak to us about love, speak to us about children, speak to us about food, about work, about passion, about crime and punishment. So you can see that how much I love, how much I tap and flag this book, because there are a lot of things that I would love to remind myself. For example, on talking. And when you can no longer dwell in the solitude of your heart, you live in your lips, and sound is a diversion and a pastime. And in much of your talking, thinking is half murdered. On children, for their souls dwell in the house of tomorrow, which you cannot visit, not even in your dreams. You may strive to be like them, but seek not to make them like you. For life goes not backward nor tarries with yesterday. You are the bows from which your children, as living arrows, are sent forth. On reason and passion, your soul is oftentimes a battlefield upon which your reason and your judgment wage war against passion and your appetite. So that those are the things you can get from this book. It is beautifully written, beautifully made, beautifully crafted by Khalil Gibran, and I discovered that he has few works in Arabic itself. So I would really, really love to start on reading his poems, his works, his novels in Arabic. So that's The Prophet by Khalil Gibran. Coming out at number 2, another classic. I mean, are we even surprised at this point? But this is The Picture of Dorian Gray by Oscar Wilde. Oh my god. Oh my god. This is so beautifully written. This is so beautifully done. And I mean, no pun intended, but wow. Is this a novel? Is this a philosophical commentary? Is this a diary? You never know. So, Oscar Wilde had me here. I want to read everything that Oscar Wilde has made. All plays, everything. This is The Picture of Dorian Gray by Oscar Wilde. Like The Great Gatsby, I also have never heard of this story before, which I also glad because it's tragic. This is a story of a man named Dorian Gray, who I believe is very, very handsome, very, very beautiful. And one of his friend, a painter, an artist named Basil Hallward, is infatuated with him and have drawn him a portrait of Dorian Gray himself. And when Dorian Gray saw his own photo, his own portrait, he kind of made a wish that instead of him, the photo would get uglier, would get older instead of him, because day by day, minute by minute, he would get older, but the photo would stay the same. So he kind of made that wish. Also under the influence of his friend named Lord Henry. So basically, in this book, we are following Dorian Gray day by day, year by year, has tainted his personality, tainted his attitude, and his morale. He saw that he did not grow old, but instead, the photo did, the portrait did. So I want you to read this not because of the story that it presents, but also for the philosophical ideas that has been put forth by Oscar Wilde himself. As you can see, I have flagged and tabbed a lot of this. I want to give you a glimpse of this book. This is by Dorian Gray. I want to make Romeo jealous. I want the dead lovers of the world to hear our laughter and grow sad. I want a breath of our passion to stir their dust into consciousness, to wake their ashes into pain. My God, Harry, how I worship her. And then by Lord Henry, because to influence a person is to give him one's soul. He does not think his natural thoughts or burn with his natural passions. Those are just few glimpses of the work by Oscar Wilde. So I really, really think that you should read this for the philosophical value, for the ideas that has been put forth by Oscar Wilde, and also for the tragedy that it has provided in this book. My most favorite book that I've read in 2021, the book that have successfully dethroned my all-time favorite book all this while, and that is The Night Circus by Erin Morgenstern. This book is magic in itself. I love the writing so much. It made me immersed into the circus itself. It made me feel like I was in the circus itself. In this book, we are following the entanglement of stories of the night circus itself, of all the magicians in it, and the ongoing nemesis, and also the ongoing trials and competitions between these two students of these magician. one named Marco, one named Celia. So Marco and Celia are waging against each other for this competition. The night circus would act as the kind of the stage for their performance, but then the night circus also have few other magicians, and it only opened during the night and closed at dawn. So that's the night circus. This book is so magical. This book feels like you are constantly in that circus. It makes you want to visit this circus. It makes you want to create this circus. It has a magic interwoven with love, with friendship, with trust, with everything in between. Everything is at stake. I am afraid of describing this book because I feel like I would not give it a sense of justice in describing and talking about this book. This is the best read of 2021, and I'm so glad I stumbled upon this. So yes, this is The Night Circus by Erin Morgenstern. Thank you so much for watching. I want to hear, what is your favorite book? What are your favorite books of the year 2021? And we can share recommendations. Put them in the comments down below, and I'll see you in next video. Bye bye.